I lost 8 years to a falsehood. When the truth finally emerged, it didn't feel like liberty. It felt like an empty room. If you're seeing this at 2 a.m., roll the volume down and move in close. I need you to listen. My cousin, call her Kayla, was basically another sibling. We were a year apart and always got chucked into the same team for backyard soccer, movie nights, the whole shebang. When I was a child, we constructed forts with blankets and held them up with clothespins, crawling inside of them with flashlights as pioneers entering a new frontier. She would laugh and do a cough at the end, like she could hardly believe that happiness could travel so far. And we had this completely strange secret handshake that we came up with in 4th grade and didn't make any sense, but seemed to be ours. You know, tap tap, knuckles, elbow, point ceiling. The kind of thing kids think is indestructible. Turns out most of what you think is indestructible is just untested. By the time we were in high school, we weren't building forts anymore. We were being faker cool. I went to community college on some scholarships. She stayed in town and worked it back and forth. That summer, the summer that it occurred, I was 19 and sporting a secondhand dress shirt to make myself feel important. I'd just landed an internship at a neighborhood radio station where I spent most of my time picking up coffee and attempting to appear as though I already knew what I was doing. I boasted about it at family barbecues more than I should have. I was that guy. If I could shake my younger self, I would. I wasn't cruel, not exactly, but I was thoughtless in how I treated other people's emotions. That July barbecue, I watched Kayla continually tugging on the hem of her t-shirt. She laughed at my jokes, but it didn't quite make it to her eyes. I asked, "You good?" in that sloppy, show type of way that doesn't really ask anything. She shrugged. We were trying to be adults and doing a poor job of it. There was one moment I relive a lot. We sat on my aunt's back porch in those plastic chairs that interlock to form little squares against your legs. The sun was low and the air was warm like a towel wrapped around your body. Kayla told me she was thinking of moving away out of state. I told her, "Do it. Don't wait." She looked like she wished me to say something different. Maybe, "How can I help?" or "Are you scared?" I didn't. I think about that. Not because I did what came next. I didn't. But because I see now how low people can fall through the crevices in our questions. A week later, the phone rang. My mom was calling. She only calls if there's a sale on the grocery store's rotisserie chickens or if something is amiss. "Come home," she asked. Her voice was small. When I came in, they were all there. My dad, my big brother, my little sister Hannah. The TV was on, but nobody was watching it. It was turned down, so the show wasn't even audible. I knew without even being told that this wasn't a typical family discussion. My dad's jaw was clenched. Mom was smoothing out the couch cushion beside her like she was ironing it with her palm. They weren't mad. They were scared. And that's worse somehow, being stared at like you're a storm is brewing inside you, and they're just hoping it doesn't hit the windows. I couldn't repeat what they told me because the specifics don't do it justice. It was a blunt sentence with rough corners. Something like, "Kayla told us you did something terrible." That is not exactly what it was said, but you know. It landed on the room like milk on tile. Mess immediately. White everywhere. It clings to everything even if you get the towels in time. And the wild thing is, I didn't even feel like defending myself at first. I felt like apologizing, like I'd caused the room to tilt just by being there. "No," I said. "No, I didn't." My voice was muffled, like it was coming from behind a wall. I said it again. "No, Mom. No, I didn't." I sniffed at my dad's aftershave and the lemon cleaner, and I couldn't help but think oddly that the house was too light for this kind of conversation. "We must take her seriously," my mom said, but without glancing at me. I said, "You don't even want to hear?" My brother stood up and walked about the room. Hannah was sobbing. Everyone was moving, but nothing was piecing together. That was the shattering half. Not the words per se, but how quickly they left me behind. No one requested details. No one asked me to walk them through it, to explain to them where I'd gone, what I'd done, and what I hadn't. It was like a domino had already fallen 3 houses over, and I was just standing there listening to the clacks travel across. By midnight, there was a new reality. I left with the small duffel bag and dignity stashed in it like the fragile item. The family group chat went dark. The next Sunday, my seat at the table was empty. My grandparents, August, that I skipped their anniversary dinner. It was always spoken gently. "Things are complicated at the moment. Let's leave everyone in peace." Space became distance. Distance became a story in which I was not present. I waited forever for someone to call, to say, "We made a mistake, come home." But what I discovered, in 1,000 subtle ways, is what happens when people decide who you are without determining it from you. At work at the radio station, a neighbor and coworker of mine would go out of her way to skip taking the elevator if I was already there. My best friend in high school stopped inviting me for a time. Messages on Times Square's digital billboards dissolved in a week. Rumors lasted longer. If you've never been pushed past the fence around your own life, let it be known, it is not boisterous. It's hushed. It's the silence that stings. It's weekends you don't have to plan for because no one is counting on you being anywhere. It's lingering in an aisle of a grocery store reading labels on pasta sauces too long because the music in the store is the only one that doesn't falter when it greets you. It's retyping and deleting the same text to your mother 24 times and then not sending it because the last time you tried, the read receipt just sat there like a cold light. I started running in the morning because it gave me a reason to wake up. I maintained my apartment neater than it needed to be because order is what you make with your hands when you can't make it with other people. I kept my head down and did my job. I did not burn my book to show it was not gasoline. But I was not at peace. I was a twisted individual. I attended therapy after a friend at the station slipped me a number on a post-it note and said to me, guardedly, that it could do some good. I informed her that I did not require it. I called the next day. During the first session, I talked about everything but what was occurring. I told the therapist that my car requires new tires. I told him that the radio station coffee had the same taste as wet paper. He let me. Then he inquired as to why I shook only when I said my sister's name. Hannah, I told him. She tied my shoes for me when I was little because I couldn't tie them. She was 5 and she had to show me. I was crying in his office and I hated that I was crying and then I hated that I was hating it. He said that sometimes, when something huge rips through your life, you don't just lose people, you lose the version of yourself that fit in the old rooms. If you're suspicious now, half of you sort of thinking, okay, but what if he did do something bad and he's just tap dancing around it? I understand that. That's how narratives are online. We prepare for the gotcha. We're conditioned to question. I question myself sometimes. Not about the central fact. I knew that I hadn't done what people claimed. But I asked myself if I'd ever been so good a person as I'd thought. I replayed all the dumb jokes, all the rolling of the eyes, all the times when I'd been inconsiderate with someone's emotions. I was blaming myself for being a mind reader non-entity. I used to think that if I'd been kinder, she'd never have said it. That's not how things work, though. Being imperfect is not an open letter asking someone to rewrite your life. The years passed. Holidays came and went with text messages sent begrudgingly and answered with emojis. Kayla and I did not speak. Every now and then, I caught sight of her across a parking lot at the supermarket. She was a person I used to know and a person who had survived something I couldn't see. Because even the people who cause harm are not cartoons. They're complicated. That doesn't diminish what they've done. It simply means despising them will not redeem you. I wish I could say that I cleaned up after them. That I found a new family, a new tribe, a new something. Mostly, I learned how to be alone without scaring myself. I knew which gas station clerks would make small talk and which ones hungered for silence. I learned the laundry machine schedules in my building, so I'd do mine without encountering anyone. I learned how to project my voice into new places so it wouldn't startle anyone. I learned to be careful. Too careful. You can feel yourself stomping like a fellow who had glass under his feet. You moved differently afterwards. 8 years. 8 long, painful years of being convinced you're the villain of your own family story. It seeps into everything. The color you pick to paint your walls. The way you pose for photographs. The fact that you just start not taking photographs. I had almost stopped hoping for a turn when it came. It was a Tuesday night in late fall. I'd made pasta and overcooked it, then ate it anyway because the sauce was good. I'd left the window open a crack and could hear the distant thrum of the freeway. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like a polite person clearing their throat. My phone lit up. Hannah. I stared at her name for a second because it still sounded like an odd bird landing in the yard. I responded. Hey. She spoke softly, the same way our mom had when I was 8 years old. Come over, can you? She said. Now. Is something wrong? I caught myself saying it as I'd said it all those years ago. She took a deep breath. Please. I drove there with my hands shaking on the wheel. I sped through every red light. My thoughts provided every terrible explanation for why she might have required me. The night made the world seem to be waiting with me, holding its breath. When I got to her apartment, she opened the door and just looked at me for a moment, as though she were checking to see if I existed. She invited me in. Her living room was the soft, messy kind of cozy, the kind where blankets and books have claimed the territory and worked out a treaty. She motioned for me to sit. I sat. My heart was doing something useless in my chest, as if it wanted to flee. Kayla was here, she said. I felt my face go cold, the sort of feeling you get when you almost drop your phone off a balcony. I braced myself. She'd been drinking, Hannah said hesitantly. And she was crying. A lot. Everything came out. I could sense the entire room grow quiet, even though the room was quiet to begin with. It wasn't true, Hannah said. Each word separate. What she said then, none of it was true. I mean, I didn't see the sentence immediately. We picture that when the truth finally arrives, it's like opening the door to someone you've been waiting for. For me, it was like hearing the knocking at the house where you've lived all these years by yourself. You'd grown accustomed to the silence. I said, "What?" Not because I hadn't heard. Because if I said it out loud, perhaps the words would grow bigger, strong enough to contain me. She told me she lied, Hannah stated, and I watched her scrunch her face when she said lie like she was trying not to crack it in her mouth. She told me she hurt and she was angry and she wanted attention and she just told me. And then everything got out of hand and she didn't know how to put the reins back on. And she was afraid and ashamed. And she said sorry. My sister's eyes overflowed. She said sorry. I've never known how to explain what happened to me at that time, and words escaped me like fish. I felt like I would bellow. I felt like I would come undone. Instead, this big, long breath came out of me like I had held my breath for 8 years. I hid my face in my hands. My shoulders shook. Hannah sat down next to me and put her hand on my back the way she did when I was little and had the flu. I said, "Say it again." "It wasn't true," she whispered. "None of it." We lingered there for hours. The fridge hummed. A groan above from a neighbor's footsteps. The world went on with its small sounds. My body did not belong to me, a borrowed body. I rose after a period and went into the kitchen and gazed at the magnets on her fridge like it was a map. I read one that had, "Be where your feet are," and laughed out loud. I thought that having my name exonerated would be like a door slamming open and all the people I had lost pouring in. It wasn't. It was tender and terrifying. Because this is what they don't warn you. Believing you again doesn't rewind the clock. You don't get the years back as store credit. You only get a new day. It can be a wonderful one, but it's only today. The next day, the phone rang at home. My father's voice was raspy. We were meeting up that evening at my parents' house. I parked out on the street like a house guest. The porch light flashed as I walked up. The door had the smell of Murphy oil soap and memory. Inside, everything was still the same and completely different. The family pictures on the wall looked at me. I looked back. There was a picture of me at 14 holding a trophy from a for-fun league of some kind. My smile was wide and unclouded. I had to get into that picture and take the kid's hand. We sat. My mom, my dad, my brother, Hannah. My mom's hands in her lap, wringing a tissue with her fingers. My dad cleared his throat. "We're sorry," he said. It sounded broken. My mom started speaking and couldn't. I waited. I was trying to be one of those people who could accept this. I was trying not to be pointy. We should have listened," my mother finally whispered. "We should have let you talk." She stopped again. I saw the years in their faces. 8 years of guilt. 8 years of avoidance. 8 years of rewriting their own history in order to live with their choice. We all had our stories. "I warned you," I said. I wasn't shouting. If anything, I was reciting a line from a play that I had done some time ago. "I warned you I didn't. I told you and nobody believed me." The tears resumed, this time smaller but sharper. "I'm sorry," my dad said. "I'm so sorry, son." My brother apologized. Hannah apologized for the second time because she was the only one who wanted the truth. We do what families do. We try to say enough sorries to build a bridge over a river that had become this deep. Bridges work, but you still have to cross them. We talked for hours. There were reasons that sounded like reasons when in fact they were just descriptions. Fear makes people do stupid, cruel things. I know that. I must believe that or I'll choke. We cried. We laughed a little because humor is muscle memory in my family. My mom brought out lemon bars because that's her trick for making anything a little more palatable. I took 2 because I needed to be the one who had known sweetness in that house once more. Finally, the conversation dwindled to nothing. "What do we do now?" my brother asked. "I don't know," I said. "Give me time." The words were like the most honest thing I'd ever said in 8 years. Not yes, not no, not sweeping the whole thing under a rug and saying fine. Just, I need time. Kayla phoned me a week later. I didn't answer. She sent a text. "Meet me at the park on 3rd if you can. Daylight, public. I'm not a threat." She didn't finish the sentence. I looked at these words and recalled 3rd grade handshakes and sunsets on back porches. I thought of 8 years. I felt something close to compassion and something like the door that wasn't yet open. I saw her. It was lunch hour, dog walkers, children sprawling on the lawn. It was notable that the day had been normal, as though we were out in public deliberately, being considerate of the fact that some conversation is bound to be overheard even if the overhearers are strangers with coffee on ice. She was older, like me, not just in the face, but in standing guardedly. She started to weep and then stood upright once more and uttered, "I'm sorry," and wept again. I let her. I wasn't there to punish, but neither was I there to rescue. She told me she had hurt then. She told me she was angry with me for things that were not this. She said it started out as a small lie, and then it kept rolling and rolling and rolling until it was bigger than she was. She said she was too scared to pull the string because she didn't know how to make what she'd started stop. She said she finally told Hannah because she couldn't take it anymore. I know sorry isn't big enough, she said to me. I've hurt so much. You most of all. I can't fix it. I know that. But I am sorry. I heard. The wind stirred a leaf over the path with a scratchy sound that was suddenly too high, as if the world were attempting to fill silence I didn't want filled. I looked at her and felt what I didn't want to feel. Sadness. Sadness for the life I never got, for the alternate version of her I lost, for the part of myself that had been trained to prepare. Sadness that sat in my heart like a tired beast. I hear you, I said to him. I believe that you're sorry. And I did, and I was shocked. But I don't know what to do with that yet. I don't know who we are now. I know, she said and nodded. I'll do whatever you say. I'll say whatever you want me to say, in whatever words you want. I already told Mom and Andy. I'm talking with Uncle Pete tonight. I'll get in the group chat. I'll do them all. As we parted ways, I stayed in my car and wept again, a different kind of cry, a cry of quiet exhaustion. I learned there are two sides to healing when a lie has blown through your life. One is outward, getting your name cleared, straightening out the record, standing truth on its feet. That's accomplished publicly. The other is inward, untangling the tangles in your body, teaching your nervous system the sky isn't going to fall when your phone buzzes. That's accomplished in private. Both take time. Both must be accomplished kindly. It didn't fix everything. The family members reached out in fits. Some were stilted. Some were beautiful. My aunt called me sobbing. My grandpa messaged that he'd slowly typed out, every letter careful, that he loved me. A cousin I barely spoke to wrote out a long apology for having accepted what was easy instead of real. And sure, some people said nothing. Silence can become habit. It requires more nerve than some possess to shatter it. I cannot make them be brave. I can only speak the truth. Here's the way it appears to me. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. Forgiveness is something you can accomplish alone, in the quiet of your own being. It doesn't require the other. It's deciding not to consume the poison of your own anger. Reconciliation is two individuals co-creating something new. Occasionally you get both. Occasionally you only get one. I'm still working on deciding where I am with that. I went back home on a Sunday afternoon, months later. Mom had the game turned down low, because even if no one specifically cares about the teams, the sound of a game is in the air in our household. She hugged me in the doorway and didn't let me go too readily. Dad asked me to go with him outside to inspect the grill, even though we both know he doesn't require help flipping anything. We were outside. He fiddled with the tongs as if they were a musical instrument. I wish I could give you those years back, he said without looking at me. I know, I told her. Me too. We stood there and watched as the sun made designs between the slats of the fence. Sometimes you just stand next to someone and allow the air to fill in the gaps. I do not have a big finale for you. No banner and speech and slow clap family reunion. What I have is smaller and, I believe, truer. I have Thursday nights where Hannah and I make dinner together and bicker over whether garlic is to be measured with your heart, yes, or a spoonful, her, inexplicably. I have Sundays where my mom swipes me leftovers in cool whip bowls, and we sit on the couch and watch people refinish old furniture because it calms us both. I have early morning runs where my feet thump the pavement and my body is reminded, again and again, that now it is safe. I have a sister who saved me with a difficult question at the perfect time. I have a cousin who committed a stupid act, then a brave act, and now we reside with both of those realities. Sometimes, I catch myself with an outburst of anger and have to hold onto the steering wheel slightly too hard at a stoplight. Sometimes I glance in the mirror and don't recognize my own face because sorrow remapped it clandestinely throughout the years. Sometimes I hear someone with a new voice call me my name and I startle. Recovery is not a linear path. It's a conversation with yourself in different weather. But there is a knowing I am reaching for, a handhold in the dark. I am not so much what was said of me, and I am not even so much what was set right. I am what I have the power to build now. The lie stole time, yes. It stole rooms that I had a right to stand in. It showed me how fast the earth can yawn. But it also taught me to be careful with other people's names. It taught me to ask the second question, the truthful one. It taught me how to be the kind of brother, the kind of son, the kind of friend who doesn't let fear resound louder than love. A few months back, I took out some of the old photos I'd hoarded in a shoebox, the ones from when things were uncomplicated, or at least seemed that way. I rehung one on my wall. It's not a sign. It's a permission slip. It reads, "You can live your life here, now, even with the scar. Maybe especially with the scar, because it's a reminder of what you made it through." If you're carrying something like this, a tale someone shoved onto your back that isn't your own, I hope you hear me when I say to you, you are not alone. I hope you hear me when I say to you, there are people who will stand with you in kitchens and on porches and at parks and hold the silence with you until it's okay to speak again. I hope you're hearing me when I say sometimes the truth comes late, but it comes anyway. It still counts. It still matters. And you still matter in all the rooms you've been absent from. I lost 8 years to a lie. I didn't get them back, but I got today back, and tomorrow, and the slow miracle of becoming a person who keeps showing up anyway. If you've ever experienced something like this, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story hit you even a little bit, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that bell.